Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Baldrige Foundation's Institute for Performance Excellence webinar, Unlocking Process Excellence, Integrating Process Management and AI Technologies. As a reminder, due to the high number of participants, everyone will be kept on mute during the presentations, and if you have any questions, please submit them to the moderator in the Q&A box located on your control screen. Presenters will answer questions during our panel discussion. Before we get started today, I wanted to take a moment and recognize members of the Mac Baldrige Society who serve as trustees of the Foundation's Institute for Performance Excellence. It is their generous support that makes presentations like today's possible. Here is today's agenda. Our guest speakers are Lourdes Gonzalez, who's Principal Advisor of Lulu Process Design Group. I will be on to moderate. And I will now turn it over to Lourdes to get us started. Thank you, Lourdes, for being on board with us today.
Thank you, everybody. It's my pleasure to be here today talking about two of my favorite topics, business process and artificial intelligence. So I'm going to take you through a journey in these next 30, 40 minutes and cover some of those topics, the foundational topic, the foundational concept. So our journey today is really to optimize your journey towards process excellence by unlocking the power of large language models and their AI, Gen AI applications available to and then how these technologies can help us not only design but improve our processes. So I divided the conversation in four areas. The first one is a very, very brief overview on the foundational concept of artificial intelligence. I promise I will not bother you with a lot of math. Second, we just will go through just a reminder what is business process management and being able to systematically manage your processes. Then I'm going to turn it into the fun part, which is we learned a little bit about AI, and then we're going to see how it can apply from the process perspective, because that's what we're talking today. And then I'll just give you some tips and close the presentation with a little bit more advice on how to embrace the technology. So let's get started. First up is the fundamentals of AI. And I divided the foundational concepts in four sections. First one is what are the language models? How they learn. Second, we're going to stop about very briefly, actually show you the math behind the scenes on how these models work. Then a very interesting topic in terms of training models. What is the training recipe that the AI researchers use, and pre-training and so on, post-training. And also I'll cover a little bit about the performance training, which is very effective as well. We're going to end up with showing you a summary of some of the most prominent large language models. And we can talk a little bit about how we can apply those to us. So let's just give you a quick overview of the language models. First up is basically, large language models is just we are modeling tags. And to illustrate that, I'm just going to give you a quick overview of how to do that. First, the main concept is really trying to predict the next question. That is the task of the modeling of the language model. For example, and I'm just going to run through these so we just see it on the side. For example, the dog ran up and the prediction of the model the accuracy of the model will predict the next word. Most likely it's going to be bark. When I grab the phone, I grab it and talk and things like that. The important concept here is that for every single word, the model is predicting. So to build up the entire language model is a lot of very complicated math that we're not going to get into. But the idea, the concept is to be able to accurately predict the next word. And that's the foundational concepts of really how the researchers are building these large language model. So as I said, the task of the model will be predicting the next word. To do that, we're going to go over a lot of very complicated math. Locally, they do have the transformers, they do have the simulators in a way that all that complicated math, and believe me, these can be explained in a simple way, but we don't have entire hour to explain it. So I just put in the screenshots of how we explain that. With the main message to you is that yes, it is a lot of math. They're just the fundamentals concept of the math. And yes, we do have machines to do all that complicated over and over and over, which is the output that we receive. So this is another 4 hour course. So let's just step back a little bit just to explain you at the high level how data sets are created. Which are the foundational of the large language models. So it's really we have a task, we have statistics, as I mentioned. The main purpose of the large language models and creating the data set is just really to start predicting what comes next. The prediction is done for each of the words. In this case, of course, each of them are going to become the yellow representation here. These are words. Each of them goes to predict what's the next one. So each of them, have you heard about the word tokens? So these are the tokens. So we will go and predict the next word for every single one. And we go around and around and around until you create the data sets. You have also word about the word transformers. This is a very fancy word for all the computational power that goes around doing all those complicated statistical calculations. And you do that over and over and over. The main purpose of doing statistical learning is really reducing the amount of error. You want the models to be predictive and you want the models to be correct. You have heard about the word hallucination. So when the models are just kind of like giving you just a weird responses, that means that the models at the foundational level have not been trained correctly. And that's one thing that of course, the scientists and researchers are really trying just to minimize the error in the predictions. And with that, they keep improving the models. And you repeat these over and over millions and millions of times. And that's where you end up with the data sets. All the models and we'll look at some of them before. If you look at some of the models, large language models from last year and this year, you can see that they have improved greatly. And that is because the researchers are really continuously trying to minimize that error. So a little bit about training, talking about training. So there's basically two phases of training. The one that I would just, this first concept about creating the first model, the first data set, is mostly done in this phase. And the pre-phase is really training, it's just really taking all the text corpora, everything that we have in the internet, everything that we have in the web pages, many books, a lot of unconstructed text corpora. That is then, and by the way, you can link on that. I provide you more links to learn. There's libraries of text that the large models uses. For example, Meta, which is the llama tree that uses 15 trillion tokens and things like that. So a lot of data to create the foundational model of the data set. Then what comes next? After you do that, And starting with that, then you go to the different elements, different techniques that the researchers use to do the post-training. And the post-training is really learn to solve specific things. You're basically taking your foundational model and sort of enhance the model. So have you heard companies that actually their products out there that they use, let's say, ChatGPT large language model, and they work with different products out there to bring the organizational knowledge to that, and then create a more aligned and refined model. That is done in post-training. There are different mechanisms to do that, and I'll show you one called reinforcement. But the idea is to take a base model, good base model, and really conduct additional training to make sure that it's more tailored to what you want to do. So let's just review that with a simple example. So this is one of the techniques that is used for reforms training. Think about and another one is just really the one that we explained, the one that I explained, basically just really providing a lot of corporate data to the model. The other one is reinforcement training. And reinforcement training, you can do it in two ways. You can use humans. Think about you teaching your dog, and you are wanting to sit, right? And every time that your dog does that, you reward him. So that's just basically the concept of the models. Of course, you can do it that way on large language model, but it will take a lot of humans to do that reinforcement. So instead, the researchers have developed different simulators to do this. Again, the learning is driven by trial and error and is based on providing constant feedback. So if we take, for example, the example of the mouse, you said that the environment we create a labyrinth, a maze for the mice, and then we have some cheese as a reward. So for every action that they will take, maybe the first time around, it will go around and around and around, smelling until find the cheese. When it comes, then it has a reward. Similar concept happens with the machines. So let's say that you are to talk about ask one model, what is the first president of US? That's a very simple thing. The environment is not going to really change a lot. If you give them more choices in terms of if you open your questioning in a more broader way, then the model is going to start looking at and refining itself. For this type of training of the large language models, you basically need two things. You need an action. In this case, we can talk about the dog, or we can talk about the mice, or we can talk about the training the tags that I want to give to the model itself. And you need a way to check. So the researchers, what they do is to train specific models, even refine the output of the models. They do identify the tags, and they do identify what is going to be the expected response. And with that, and a lot of computational work, then they refine the model. So I hope that this example is a lot simpler than explaining what happened with the machines, but I'd be happy to explain it a little bit more. So what we do with all that information? As I mentioned, you have two phases in training. The main concept is just to end with a good base model to begin with. And as I mentioned, some companies already, this is what they are doing internally. Of course, we have cybersecurity, we have ethics, we have a lot of things that still needs to put in place. But behind the scenes, what happens with the model is with the training on making sure that you have a good output when you prompt any of the model is to start with the base model, as I said, do a lot of brainstorming training in a way that you can bring your knowledge base of your organization. You have specific things that you want to do, and you have a specific, just you have a way to check. For example, in healthcare, uh, there's several models that are being created, several products that are being created to when you go to a doctor's appointment. You are going to tell the doctor how you're feeling and all that. And the doctor now they have an AI companion to help them. The doctor will be in early implementation of those models. The doctor will be analyzing what the output is of that model, and that is meaning to be checking, right? So checking that answer was correct. The doctor will then input to the model, yeah, that's what I would say as a doctor. And that's the way that over and over you repeat that action, and you're going to end up with a model that is a lot more refined than the initial model. And that's where we call a line model. When you feel that your AI large language model, combination of those, a line model, is not hallucinating, it's not giving you bad responses, then you can say you have a model that you can trust, that you can use it as a tool to help your organization. So that's basically the foundational concepts behind some of the new products that are coming, in which I just keep being asking all the time, what about my organizational model knowledge? What I do with that? So that's basically what happened behind the scenes in order to make that happen. So in general, let's just recap some of the financial concepts that I just covered, and I know that there's a lot more that we can cover on that, but that will take a couple hours to do that. The data, it's the large language models behavior is entirely learned from data. And I will have some warnings for you on that as well. And then the data, of course, we talk about that the data includes all the web corporate, is basically harvesting all the website to bring the information in a little bit more formatted way for you. The same training happens, and I didn't talk about that because, of course, the time. So it is training on text, but it also the same techniques are used to train in images and videos and audios. So before, a couple years ago, let's say ChatGPT, that was the most known large language model. It was only text. Oh, now it can do much more. And of course, with the new large language models, they can do images, they can do video, but the concepts, the foundational concepts are just the same. So let's just talk a little bit about some of those models available and what are the primary differences in between them. I would say that there's like probably three categories, or maybe two. They are the ones that are closed APIs and the ones that are open parameters. Some of the most commons I name them here. I know there's, the more we talk, and I didn't mention here deep space because it's a Chinese product. But you have different companies here and their models. So OpenAI is the one, I think that is ChatGPT 4, and that is, I believe, used to be a free version, but now is subscription. Meta is an open model. Maybe the human interface, the user interface is not as sophisticated as OpenAI. Google have Gemini, before called Bard. Anthropic has Cloudy, and so on. So and some other models are really like Perspective, if using a combination of ChatGPT, Mistral, and so on. But the main differences are that what does this means for you, for the organizations? Means that when you are working with your IT team, when you are trying to define your technology roadmap, you have to decide how you want to go about. You can use open sources, or you can use API, which is, I would imagine that that's probably the safest way to go. By the way, some of the researchers also they work together, right? So Meta works with OpenAI and so on, but they have very strict rules in terms of how they work. Oh, one more. Let me go back. So the main differences, to recap in terms of the AI overview, quick overview, the main differences between the models is really the size and input and output. Some of those, of course, some of those are very are bigger than other ones, slower than other ones, and of course, the bigger you are, the more parameters you have, the better the model, but the more computational time we'll have. One question that I've been asked is, so how much they are? So if you are going to train your own model, that's going to be an expensive proposition. If you are going to have the ability to provide that technology to your team, you might consider just going with an aligned model, working with another company, and I don't know which ones are there, but I'm currently actually researching that. And as I said, it just the input and output. So general advice for me, based on what I have experienced myself and my customers have experienced also, and the people that I work in terms of researchers, really try all the options. Most likely, most of you have tried different options. What I will say is just start with the free ones. Technology is here to stay. So just make sure that, and keep in mind that the humans are the ultimate decider, the ultimate checker. So make sure that you compare the output to what you know that is correct. And basically just really start. If you have not done that, please do. Do not fear. They don't buy. It's a learning tool. It's a tool. So enough about AI, and I'm just not going to cover that, because basically it's telling me that it's just emphasizing the fact that it's really there are a few fundamental concepts in the large language models, and the main intention is really minimize the errors so we have good responses. So I'm going to sweep gears a little bit so we can jump into how to apply what we learned in the last couple minutes. One of the main concepts, one of the main the strongest journey that we have in the Baldrige community is really having the ability to create excellence in our organizations. In our case, we focus in processes. And as you know, process is always a continuous management of your system of processes. So as I go as a personal examiner and with my clients, I always emphasize the fact that we are within the big scheme of the system perspective that Baldrige bring to us. We mostly concentrate on the portion of the processes. However, processes are really all around the criteria. And I know that criteria has been going through some changes. And of course, the evaluation process have changed. But to run a business and achieve business excellence, you are going to need all the elements, and processes are really all over the categories as a system perspective. Just a reminder of what we were talking. So let's just, that is from system perspective. If we hone in into processes, and making sure that you achieve excellence in your processes, you're going to have to put the foundation, as we mentioned. Of course, this is identifying what are the system of processes that you need that represent your organization. You're going to have to set the targets. What is the performance that we expect to make sure that I achieve what I need in terms of process performance? How do I know that I am performing as I said that I need to be to deliver the value to our clients? And of course, last but not least, learning and responding to that. So this is basically the circle of creating and effectively managing your system of processes. If we dive being a little bit more, and I'm gonna, for each of these, we do have more training for each of the building blocks. But if we go and look again from the system perspective to achieve process excellence, we do need to understand what is it that we are doing as an organization, what is it that our processes that we need. We need to understand that we have organizations that are created as functional organization. These are my resources to manage our processes. There are differences. I see organizations that define their core processes as their cross-functional organization, and that is not exactly the same thing. Of course, we're going to be continuing learning, and there's more elements of that. And as I said, if you want more information, more training on that, I'd be happy to offer that to you. Which processes, another questions that I get is which process I need to just really focus and improve. We talk about that in those. I just might need to put the link so you can link to those trainings. And of course, continuously improving your processes. So let's just focus in the system of processes and how the technologies that we have can help us on these. I'm just gonna jump a little bit on these. Let me go back. So we'll just show both of them in terms of that. So to illustrate that, I took the sort of fictitious, but just mimicking the foundation and created with the help of AI without using a lot of, without providing any information that it was not out there. Locally, the foundation has, it's a public foundation, so all the information is out there. Then I'm just going to guide you through some of the tips on how to do that. So let's just talk about a little bit about process architecture. To create a system of processes, I typically divide it into, of course, your core processes, the management processes, the ones that you use to govern, in this case, the foundation, and your support processes. So then I start playing, helping, collaborating with some of the models. And I just showing this one, the output of ChatGPT itself. The output doesn't come this way, by the way. This comes from another place. But then I ask, this is the context. This is me. I am a process practitioner. I need to define a business architecture. This is the organization that I would like to describe. What are the processes, the core processes that may lead to that organization to be successful based on the mission and values? So some suggestions, and clearly it's just very zero because it's not, this is fictitious. Promote performance excellence, manage funds, develop and disseminate knowledge, and engage stakeholders. This is just to illustrate that with intent, with content, you can engage with the models to actually help you initiate, create the 000 version of a system of processes. And you can do that with by educational, any organization that you can provide, that you want to define. The caveat is, remember, a lot of the organizations are private organizations, so do not share anything. In this case, the Baldrige organization is a public organization, so there's no problem on that. So this is the output of that conversation, of that collaboration with this large language model. Important, I talk a little bit about prompts and how to effectively do that. These are some of my favorite. The main thing is when you engage, think about having conversation with an stranger. You present yourself, hopefully, right? Especially the stakeholders that we work in projects. It's like, yeah, if they do that, I'll be fantastic. So first of all, present yourself, tell your role. In this case, I'm a process practitioner. I am this and that, or I am a project manager. I need to define this project here and there. Second, provide context. Like last year, I was working with a client that was a swimming organization. I don't know anything about swimming organization, so I did learn quite a bit, and I presented some context on that. So the conversation that I have with this AI tool can understand from where I come in. Also, be demanding. And I mean by being demanding is it has a lot, it is called large language model for one reason, right? So it does have a lot of information. Harvest that, and how you harvest that, ask over and over and over. And if you are beginning doing prompts and you feel like not confident doing it, ask them, give me some examples of some prompts. And that way you learn from the machine and continue doing it. So when I start researching or collaborating with one large language model, I don't ask for one answer. I ask for like 20. And I just keep digging until I just like, okay, so I think that a good example is I'm gonna do a project. I have an idea of the stakeholders, but I would like to know more. So I ask some of the models, create a table with the stakeholders for blah, blah, blah project, and just then me as a project manager, I go and refine that and I select which ones. And that, I mean, that's a starting point, right? So a lot more on that. So we have another one, that's another full course on that. So these are some of the examples. You get this information in terms of the different examples, how to use the models. Excuse me for a minute. So then we're talking back to process. What's happening in some of the products in terms of process modeling. And I'll show you one or two slides on more AI apps on how to go about selecting them. I'm talking about here about and I use a couple ones that I prefer. Some of them are free. Some of them are you have to pay for the applications itself. But basically what they're doing now is just really harvesting the information from the large language models. And I would say that to create a complicated or complex or more complete system of processes, business architecture, you will need your humans in the loop. You will need to develop that. But now what the applications, modern applications are integrating is that knowledge base from the models. And let's say that you want to create a find the luggage process, which is my least favorite process because they should not have one in the airport, but they do have one. It's pretty good. So the modeling softwares are harvesting all that information and make a suggestion. And since they're modeling software, they do create the chart. For documentation, they're getting really, really, really good. For adaptation, one of the things that I like the most, since I am dual, bilingual, it is very easy to translate the models in different languages, which is fantastic. And of course, some of them, depending on what model, what product you get, how much help you can get in terms of managing the processes and harvesting the data is incredible. And I can tell you, I can testify that in a couple of years, they're being evolving in a good way rapidly. So one of the things that I get asked a lot too is, but my job is going to be taken out. And there's a lot of fear in terms of that. And to be honest, I did start with that, right? So I am a process practitioner for 30 years or so, and I was very worried about that. In my case, locally, I do have PhD AI researchers close to me, so we have a long conversation on that. So what I did was, and this is what I do with my customers, and if some of you wants to do this with your teams, by all means, I'll be happy to help. What I did was applying change management. So the big fear is my job is going to be taken out. My job is going to disappear. So I start analyzing from as a business process analyst, what is it that I do? What is my job description? What are the activities that I do? And then I categorize it in 3 buckets. I categorize it in the ones that they're completely human-centric. There's no machine that are going to be really doing that for us. Maybe, in the very far away future. Then what are the activities that I can actually collaborate and use the technology and, kind of use it as a mentor, as a tool to help me enhance the things that I do. An example that I provided was the business process architecture. And then what are the things that are very routine that actually are better if I can automate them on that? The banking industry have done a lot of that. And some of other industries have done a lot of work on that as well. So I'm not going to read all these, but basically you get the essence of the idea. So take your role descriptions in your organization and really have that conversation with your teams about what is it that they do and how the technology can be helpful for you. After that, what I did and what I recommend, I'm not expecting you to be able to read all these little symbols. The message is, once you identified what are the things that you can actually, as a human, in this column, first one, let's come back to me. I get stuck there, so when I go back, okay, now I went back too fast. So that first column, that are the things that are human-centric. So I took those, and probably I will develop more enhanced training on the for my workforce. Sorry, just a little bit of delayed on passing the slides. I don't know if there's a way to, okay. Then I just went down. Okay, so I'm not gonna go back again. So I just I explain you that. So then the ones that you are identified that you can collaborate, just start looking at these. The way that I created these was, again, from the process perspective. I went back and said, okay, so what are the things that a process analyst does? I created the categories. And then, okay, so what are the tools that are out there? And I have tried pretty much 100% of these, so I can speak a little bit about, but we're not going to go into that. This is a PDF. I'll be happy to, if you write to me, I'd be happy to provide that to you. That's one way to ease the the conversation with your teams. So summarizing my very quick overview of I will say that from the process excellence perspective, human-centric management skills are here to stay. There's not really any reason why we need to be so nervous about that. And that will help us achieve business excellence. Continue actively managing your process and use the AI tools as what they are, tools. I know that AI is going to stay here, so get engaged, do your process change, play with them, and learn with your team. Start small and keep continue and celebrating what you do as a team. From the perspective, from the AI research standpoint, keep in mind that the core ideas behind the large language models are really very, very simple, intuitive, as they would say. It is not magic, it's a lot of math, I do understand, but they do have a lot of tools to do that. The researchers know about the applications, they have limited perspective about the businesses. So we as business people, we need to help them as leaders, we need to help them bring those cases to them. Engage, as we said, garbage in, garbage out. So that's to say this day. So provide the data, provide the checkers, be the checkers, help them in improving the models in that way. And I will say that, ChatGPT could be a skill, but it's just as you practice more, you get better on that. And the point of that is just really do ask questions in a concise way to get the best answers from the models. That's why the models learn. And with that, I thank you very much. I do know that I went very, very fast into the content. This is one of my very favorite questions. It's not an AI generated picture. It's actually one of my son's pictures. And I do know that maybe, Will feeling a little bit of, get me out of here in terms of the AI technologies. With that, I think that I'll turn it over to you, Josh, for any questions that we may have.
Great. Well, thank you very much. I'm going to pull up a couple of those questions that I've been responding to in the chat, and I have a few others here. First one, how do you suggest, or if you can provide any tips on how we might help our workforce to successfully transition to an AI-enabled future? As you've kind of said already, it's here to stay. So can you give us any tips on how to help our workforce transition to that?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. I get asked that question many times. So I would say that the first thing that you need to do is be your own student. So if you're a leader in your organization, I'll start with yourself. Start going through your own journey. Apply change management to yourself. Just as we see the three columns, what I do in my daily work, and then go from there. Second, I think that is just keep your team in the loop. Anything that you do in terms of developing in what is going to be your AI IT strategy, keep your people in the loop, and that is by defining that strategy together. The concerns of the teams are gonna come over, and you are gonna work as a team to do that. Third, I would say, do something small, deploy something small. And of course, it's not as simple as that because you need to worry about cybersecurity and all that, but pick a small project. And I know that a lot of people are bringing some of the AI tools to work. Some of them are authorized or not, but just do something because it's gonna be here to stay. And continuously, if you have a small project, you deploy that, make it visible, connect the people, make sure that the people are talking about, make sure that you celebrate the small wins. But engage and be frank. It's just here, everybody just sort of in the same boat of being afraid, right? So just start with yourself and then expand to your team. Great question.
No, that's great. Along those lines, but taking it a step farther now, when you start to get into the use of AI, do you have any preferences on just the general AI apps for different use cases? And we've had one comment in the chat specifically about what AI model might be good for recruiting, and that might be some stuff you can respond to some of these individuals offline on some of these if you want to do a little research on that. But just, general AI apps that you found useful and the different use cases that you've been able to apply them. That would be interesting.
Yeah, so, and they're evolving, right? So from last year, all the A apps that I show, the PDF that I show, I would say that they were like maybe I have like two-thirds more. So the models are also evolving. Like last year, you saw Gemini, and Gemini was just giving you very simplistic responses. This year, because the way that they've been training the models, you can get a lot more of that. So I would say just use, if you're starting, just use, you really use bounds ideas between them. I kind of know that Copilot, it tends to be because it's just the tone of the model and the tone of how you ask tend to give you more straightforward question. ChatGPT is a little bit broader. Gemini sometimes just give you a little bit more just good information. So it depends of, you can see the differences on how the models are being trained. My biggest advice is the number one. If you are going to do that, remember, keep in mind the security. Keep in mind that you're not going to give away information that you should not give away. The large language models are training models. So they learn, learning models. So they learn about everything. So keep your dirty laundry away. Don't provide information that you should not provide, but then do experiment with them and do experiment with the different prompts and the different ways that you ask the questions.
Hmm. Absolutely. So as we continue our Boulder journey, we're facing challenges such as, for example, defining what are the processes our organization must have to execute its business strategy, or, for example, how best to invest our resources on process improvement projects. What approaches do you recommend on overcoming these challenges? These are the types of questions that, organizations across all industries, as we know, because Baldrige is applicable across all industries. These are the type of questions they're asking. So, do you have any approaches and recommendations to helping to overcome those challenges?
Yeah, and actually, as an examiner, as a national examiner, I do see a lot of that. I see organizations that they're struggling identifying that system of processes. What I will say is that to define what processes, even if you are a very old, established organization, to define your processes and what are important for you, you have to look at, we start always when we define a business process architecture, we start understanding that organization. We start understanding what is the mission. We start understanding what is the vision, values, strategic goals, and so on. Out of that, the second question is, how are you going to execute your organization? How you're going to promise you're promising all these to your customers via your mission, vision, and values and strategic. So how is it exactly that? What do you need to deliver that value to the customers? If you study all of them, you can literally pick word by word one process. How is it that you're going to do that? That might equal to an action that you need to take in order to deliver that value to the organization. So there's different techniques to do that, but that in a nutshell is the way that we do it. And then based on the priorities of the company, because you're going to have finite resources to do improvements in your organization. So based on
Hmm.
that, really pick the processes that, number one, very aligned to your strategic objective, mission and values and vision. and make sure that those processes are stellar. Make sure that those processes are executing as you design them for. So
Mhm.
that's just the first year. If you have, of course, the strategic goals are going to be changing every 3 years or so, make sure that you do have processes to deliver that. And identified out of the, I mean, one of the common mistakes that the people do is just trying to, I have like 100 processes, trying to do 100 improvements, a little bit, a little bit. Look at who has the most impact on what you're trying to do as an organization and put your resources on that.
Absolutely. Um, so you mentioned earlier on that the training AI models obviously can be very expensive. And so in your mind, what's the best way to use the technology so that we can manage organizational knowledge in light of that fact?
Yeah, so we'll go back to the pre-training and post-training, right? So there's multiple. I cannot give you a recommendation of an organization that is doing right now because, of course, I don't work with them. But there's a lot of organizations that they are that they're using basically ChatGPT, large language model, right? Any open model that you have, for example. I give you products that they're being out there because they're in my chart. Change management proside the organization, so they basically use the large language model, and I believe that they use MS Copilot as a large language model, and then they bring their organizational knowledge into that, and they create an aligned model, closed API with the with that collaborator, and integrate that knowledge base. And then with that, you know that you can deploy that to organization internally, and your knowledge base is safe. So it's a combination of really what product you want to use. There are organizations that they are doing that work now. How much you want to invest. I don't think that you have to invest in training the full model. I think that savvy way is that just start using, just reach out to one of the organizations that do provide those services, and go that route.
Mm. Okay. Well, you also talked about at the beginning the fundamental concepts of the large language models and the generative AI apps. So, how can we learn more about it without having to, for example, learn all the complicated math concepts that you talked about? So, what do you think's the way people should go about this?
Yeah. Some of my journey on doing as well, right? So
Yes.
what we're doing at Lulu is that we're doing workshops on that. We're lucky that we have an AI researcher that is a woman, is a human explainer. So we mortals can learn from that. So what we're doing is a series of uh, modules in which we are using graphics and narrative, and just really getting to examples in a way that we can understand. So there's a lot of complicated math, but there's no need to learn how to that work. But it's important as part of the learn, and just kind of like get the fear out of that. It is important that we do understand what happened. And that's not only the only thing. The ethics is another one. The governance is another one. So there's a lot of different, I would say, pillars, to call it that way, different areas in which we need to learn, and we need to develop a comprehensive plan around. I'm just trying to help in the area of explaining something that is very complicated in the most human way. So
Mm. Pull up. I've got one last question here, and it kind of relates to a question actually that just came into the chat. So I'm actually going to read the one from the chat. It says, in our organization, we don't have a centralized repository of business processes. Therefore, each department develops and documents their own using Word or Visio, and the quality is, of course, inconsistent. We don't have a better modeling or documentation tool in place yet. How can we leverage available tools in IT to improve that situation?
yeah. So they are because a lot of the applications are SaaS applications now, and a lot of applications, like I talked earlier, a lot of the modeling applications are bringing AI chat. I know that, and that person that put the question, you can reach out to me and I can give you specific recommendations on that. But there are models out there. There are modeling tools out there that they're already integrating AI in their softwares. And it is very easy actually to create a business process architecture and have your repository and having all connected in terms of the workflow. So there's no need to have a lot of issues and individual processes and standardizing. So, and they're not really that expensive either. So reach out to me, please. I'll be happy to help you and give you some guidance in terms of that.
Well, thank you for that. And we certainly will do that. Lourdes, thank you for your time today and the presentation. Very informative. And, as we've all talked about, AI is such a critical piece anymore to a lot of organizations' day-to-day operations. And it's great to be able to take the appropriate things into consideration that are so important, as you've alluded to in this presentation. I encourage everyone, if you have additional AI questions related to this, do your research. Lourdes's information is right here on this screen, and everyone will receive the presentation here coming shortly as a recording.
And it's a bonus. Download the Baldrige builder in Spanish and anything else that you can have. So
Absolutely. Well, thank you again, Lourdes. We appreciate it.
thank you so much to everybody.
The Foundation's Institute for Performance Excellence has more than 400 training and professional development certification opportunities offered online and at your own pace. This month, we're showcasing 4 certification courses relating to today's presentation: Artificial Intelligence for Marketing Professionals and Leadership for Women in Business. You can visit the Institute website at baldrigeinstitute.org/education to learn more and to register. Now, as a reminder, the recorded version of today's presentation and slides will be emailed to all who registered next week. And once again, thanks to all of our great sponsors and donors. We hope to see you all again at next month's webinar on August 28th, where our guest will be Pamela Tripp of Comwell Health. Thank you again for attending this afternoon's webinar, and have a great day, everyone.